YouTube channel near you.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Paranormal and True Crimes. This edition is brought to you by, yes, the one and only Rest in Peace Paranormal Gear. Thank you, Eric, for sponsoring this show. If you don't have their gear, make sure and reach out to reargear1951@gmail.com. Rest in Peace Paranormal Gear. I have their rim balls and paranormal gear in my gear collection, and I love it. How you doing there, Jennifer?
Great. They need to give me a link to their stuff.
Yes, I sure will.
Here. You got to do it. Got to try it out.
Absolutely.
Nice to see you again.
I know. Long time no see.
I know.
Welcome, everybody that's tuning in. Hello, Amy. Hello, Lorna. Hello, Lori. Kathy A., Roger Blair, John, as everybody's starting to slide in on this Friday evening. It's awful cold up here right outside Indianapolis. Hello there, Mary. Nice to see you tuning in here. So what have you been up to there, Jennifer?
Getting through Halloween in New Orleans, being family. Just got back, recovering from, you go on vacation and need a vacation from your vacation.
Yeah.
With all the work that piles up, right? What about you?
I have been so busy working on intros and doing other stuff and adding more shows to the channel. We got more UK shows. We're adding some morning shows. We're broadcasting and starting up some other morning shows and working on that. It's just been really busy and everything. It's just like we just don't stop. And it's thanks to our viewers, watching us and giving us some feedback. We're also working on a survey for the viewers to give us some feedback on what they want on some shows and different times during the week and days of the week. So we're taking that in consideration, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here. And Speaking of the viewers, if you have a case, a code case or a missing person case in your area that you want us to work on, submit it in to Jennifer or myself, and we'll take a look at it and put it in line. We'll be more than happy to review the case and bring it upon the psychics or people with abilities and put it on the channel and broadcast it and see if we can help out. So make sure and keep that in mind. What do you think?
I think it's an awesome idea. We were talking before the show, we can search just to see what we can find. But, outside of our area or something major, it's hard to know what's relevant for people across the world, I guess, the country especially. So, yeah, it'd be great. It'd be great to get some feedback from everyone on cases they might find interesting for us to cover.
Yeah. And there may be a case in their hometown, Jennifer, that they want us to look into. And we're not beside ourselves to look into something like that for them.
Exactly. And you guys did that for me. I think it was the first and second case, that little boy, Elijah Vu, that they worked on. And I sent everyone an update. His body was recovered by a hunter a few weeks ago. And it was exactly where it was described to have been. I had sent a picture to the mediums after our panel of where a few of them had described with the water tower they saw. And that is the area that little boy's body was found. So thank goodness, because now that family can start, getting some more peace and closure, as until they prepare for trial for the two people that hurt that little boy. So, but yeah, so they're folks, they are accurate. I mean, it's nice when you see those cases come to fruition. You get updates. Mercedes Vega was another one I sent an update on. And Melinda actually was going to go back to her sketches because they had a suspect was arrested in Tennessee. And I think I found a picture of him. She was going to go back and look at her sketches to see if he matched any of them. So if y'all, sometimes you don't see our updates. I'm sure you all know our panel is so talented, but when you see these updates come, and you really get a realization of how accurate that panel is. They're just amazing and so talented.
No, absolutely. And ladies and gentlemen, if you know people that have abilities that would like to help out on the cases, feel free to reach out to them and ask them if they want to be a part of our network and in our family. And Jennifer and I will be more than happy to talk to them and see if they are going to be a good fit. More the merrier, because everybody has their own talent and their own way of looking into things. And because, it's like all these people with abilities, it's like a piece of the pie, right? Everybody sees things differently in a different angle. But as we bring them together as a whole, that's when everything fits together like a puzzle. And that's how we get to help and maybe solve things. And maybe that little piece of our show can help a chief of detectives or an agency to put something together, maybe that they didn't share with the public, right? That they can look into it at a different angle.
Yeah, sure.
Lily says, I referred a case of list of loved one in California to this channel. If the family followed up, though, please make sure and find out. I know a lot of people submit family members to this channel. And unfortunately, some family members talk to us, and then they have a change of heart that they do not want to be a participant, or they do not want us to look into the case because it brings up too many memories or hard feelings, or they just don't want to go down that path again, which we do respect that. Yes, Eric, we just showed your logo and did your promo. Thank you, Eric, for sponsoring the channel in the show. And yes, we're very happy we're back. Jennifer and I scheduled both got in alignment again. But, if you have a loved one or a friend of the family, we'll be more than happy to talk to them off air. And we do want the family members and friends of the family to participate in the show. They don't have to show their face. They can change their name, and they don't have to be on camera either, because we do respect everybody's privacy, don't we, Jennifer?
Yes, we do. That is for sure. And that is sometimes hard to get some of the family members or even anyone else that might have information to come forward, is they're very afraid, of what might. I mean, sometimes, I'll be honest, sometimes we get some people that maybe don't like what we say every once in a while, but we go by what's out there in the media, and we put our little disclaimer up and everything, but we don't try to speculate too much, but you do a little anyway. There's some facts in this case for sure that we can try to speculate about why things were found where they were found, which is going to be kind of an interesting discussion too.
No, absolutely. And, we always say this is for entertainment purposes only. All facts are in this case, or what we are presented to us by the media, and also any court documents or legal documents that's presented for us that are public domain. We do not make up anything. We only are presented to what we are presented with. And all parties are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. So absolutely. Now, tonight, we are looking at, let's see here. It's a TV anchor that disappeared. Ain't that right?
Yes, that's Jody Huizentrout. And she disappeared in June 27th, 1995.
It was 2 years after I graduated.
Oh, my goodness. I've already graduated. Oh, Chrisley, really? You aging me.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Shut the front door. So this case, when I was looking into it, was kind of odd, right? And so what information do you have on this one?
So Jody Huizentrout was a news anchor in Mesa City, Iowa. June 27th, 1995, she had called the TV station she worked at and told them that she was on her way to the studio for her morning broadcast and never made it. About 3 hours went by before anyone started, calling out, I think, to law enforcement, about maybe what had happened. When they went to her apartment complex parking lot, they found her Mazda Miata still in the parking lot. And by the car was a pair of women's shoes, a blow dryer, a bottle of hairspray, car keys, and earrings. And the police also dusted for prints, and they did find a partial palm print at the scene as well. So they did rule it an abduction. Before
she got snatched.
Yeah. And before in the weeks leading up to her disappearance, friends of Jodi said she was taking self-defense classes, and she reported, there's a police report out there from Jodi about a white pickup truck following her. So she was concerned. And, when you're in the public eye like that, unfortunately, things like that, that happens. That's part of it sometimes.
Well, when you say self-defense classes, so that means that she was scared.
Mm-hmm.
What state is this in? Eric's asking.
She's in Iowa.
Iowa.
Yeah, and a lot of the news stations that I watched were in the Minneapolis, St. Paul area. So this must be close to the Minnesota border.
So she was scared enough to take self-defense classes. So this must have been pretty serious.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So unfortunately, fortunately, I suppose I shouldn't say unfortunately, her family did have her declared deceased in 2001.
I saw that.
Yeah.
So they can have a funeral and everything.
Right. And
body not recovered.
Body not recovered. Nope. And a few weeks ago, there was search in a Minnesota town in what looks like to be a parking lot, maybe a construction site. The findjodi.com folks, which is a website to keep awareness out there for Jodi and is extremely active, did reach out to law enforcement, and they did confirm that the reason they were at that site in Minnesota was a tip on Jodi, but they turned up nothing. And there are a few suspects as well. I think we've got some news videos that have a few of those.
Yeah, Eric said she was already afraid. I do agree. Yeah, anytime a woman takes self-defense classes, there are some type of degree of being afraid of some type of stalker or something that's going on. Let's see which one we have here. And let's see here. We'll do this one first. Oops. Blow this up and make sure it's not muted.
It's the motion array at the holiday sale.
I thought I had it.
Get 10.
There we go. Oh, can't show that one. So let me go back. Yeah. That one is all right, here we go. There and action.
In Iowa community for nearly 3 decades. What happened to Jodi Huisentruit? Today marks 28 years since the Mason City news anchor told a coworker she was running late for her early morning shift. She was never heard from again. Investigators later found signs of a struggle at her apartment and determined that she was abducted. She was declared legally dead in 2001. Volunteers who are working to find her visit Mason City each year on the anniversary of her disappearance.
The anniversary of Jodi's disappearance is tough for the people that knew her and her family. Of course, the whole month of June, with her birthday being in June as well. Our role, I think, is just to remind people that the case is still open and it's unsolved, and someone has some information they need to come forward to police.
It's a story we cannot forget. The private investigator continues to look into the disappearance. He says he believes there are still people who can help solve this mystery. To learn more about Huisentruit's life and career, go to our website, kcci.com.
So yeah, Lulu. I think Lulu. There was 4 suspects. So and let's go to the next video here. Let me close this one out. And let's see here. let me close this one out here. And the next one I've got just disappeared. Go ahead, Jennifer. I'll let you take the floor for a second.
Okay. So I did go to find Jody's disappearance first year. Jody doesn't report to work by 3:30 a.m. Her regular arriving time is morning and noon. Anchor producer at KIM-TV in Mason City, Iowa. 4 a.m. Jody gets a call from Amy Coons. Let me know when you're ready. There's another news producer at the station. She says she'll be at work in a few minutes. Coons thinks Truth sounds like she overslept, but she never arrives. Coons anchors the hour-long daybreak newscast while Kevin Skarupa reports on the weather. 7:13, a coworker calls police to check on Jody. When an officer arrives at 7:16, he finds who's in Truth's red Mazda Miata in the parking lot of her downtown Mason City apartment. A pair of red women's dress shoes, blow dryer, bottle of hairspray, car keys, and earrings were scattered beside the car, along with the bent car key. There are signs of a struggle, and police initiate the missing persons investigation. They search the park next to the apartment complex, along with the Winnebago River that runs through the park. Mason City Police Chief Jack Schilpepper says the department had no concrete leads, and that is day one of her disappearance. They went through all of that.
So a bent car key. So
Yes.
that would advise to us that she was trying to get into her car when the struggle ensued. So
Yep.
and I've got one clip up here. Let's share it, and I'll blow it up. And
a possible new breakthrough in the case of a missing Iowa TV news anchor who vanished 28 years ago, and it could potentially pinpoint a person of interest. Jody Huisentruit was 27 years old when she disappeared back in 1995. She had overslept and was running late to anchor the news that morning, but she never showed up. Police arrived at her apartment to find her car still in the parking lot, along with other items scattered around her apartment, like a blow dryer, her red heels, a bent car key. Now, 28 years later, a private investigator believes jealousy was a factor in Jody's disappearance, saying Jody had a secret fling with a mystery man just days before she went missing, never to be seen again. So let's bring in that private cold case investigator, Steve Ridge, who uncovered this new detail, has been investigating this case for years. Steve, thank you so much for being with us. I guess my first question to you, how do you even approach investigating a case that is nearly 30 years old?
Well, persistence, I guess, is the answer, Nicole. I've been working on this case pretty much nonstop for 3.5 or 4 years. And what I discovered was that there was a relationship that formed with Jody and a man who she met just 10 days before she went missing. And they were such fast friends that they actually spoke or met 8 times in 10 days, and she was out of town the other 2. So they went golfing, they had drinks, they sat on his lakeside overlook, they had dinner. She was very preoccupied with this gentleman, and it took her basically out of her normal routine, which I believe may have created some intense jealousy on the part of others who were used to seeing her on a fairly regular basis or being able to have access to her. So this has never been made public. It's something I discovered. I do know now that police are fully aware of it, but they chose not to make it public. I think it's important to make this public because it may shed light. If people did see Jody out on a date or in different situations in that final 10 days, who else was there? Who else observed it? Who else might have been upset by it? And sometimes to get information, you have to give information.
Absolutely.
So that's why
And we're talking about a news anchor here. You know, this is in a small town, certainly, nearly 30 years ago. Obviously, television news anchors, things were a little bit different there. I mean, this is certainly someone that people would recognize, that people would know in that area. So this man, this mystery man, Steve, I know I was doing a little research. So police initially called him a person of interest, but he was later cleared. So how do you think he potentially plays into all of this, 28 years later?
Well, I think basically being in the wrong place at the wrong time, essentially, not realizing how supercharged the dynamics were around suitors. Jody was just very popular. She was the star local news anchor in a very small community. That was the only television station that was actually based in that Mason City community. And so she was like a network star to the local people. And she was an attractive young woman that got lots of attention. She was very well liked by men and women. There were a lot of people that had an interest in being with her.
So, Steve, before we let you go here, I know you're offering a $50,000 reward for information leading to Jody's remains. I have two questions for you. Do you think her remains at this point will ever be recovered? And do you think we'll ever really know what happened to Jody?
Well, I think that there's only a slight chance that we will recover her remains, although I am specifically working on the method that was used potentially to dispose of her remains. And regardless of any condition of the remains, it is very possible that there could be physical evidence that would be self-sustaining for a very long period of time. So I haven't given up on that, but I think more likely would be, I know 3 people who I believe have information and have not come forward or have not been fully honest with what they know. And if any one of them were to come forward, I think it could re-energize this case.
Oh, yeah, we certainly hope so. Steve Ridge, I know you've put a lot of hours into this, a lot of hard work. So thank you so much for giving us some of your valuable time.
Absolutely. Thanks, Nicole.
Thank you for watching.
So what's really strange is, I know I shouldn't be saying this, is that I actually saw her being taken by her car and being taken back to the apartment. And that's where the struggle happened.
Yeah. Okay. So on that note, I do have another news broadcast that covers one of the suspects.
And I think I'm getting ready to play one of them and action.
The search intensifying for Jody Huisentruit, the missing TV news anchor from Iowa. New tips investigators to search a property in Minnesota that is under construction. And we're uncovering a lot of new information in this case and talking to a private investigator who's been working this investigation for decades. He says he's narrowed his suspect list down to 4 people. Here again is News Nation's Rich McHugh.
The ground search for Jody on day 1 included about 20 members of law enforcement, and by the end of the day Tuesday, search dogs from points all over Iowa. This is when Mason City Police publicly confirmed that Jody's disappearance could possibly involve foul play, but there was still no mention of an abduction.
Scott Fuller is a member of Find Jody, an all-volunteer team of journalists and former law enforcement created in 2003 by 2 TV journalists, Josh Benson and Gary Peterson, to bring awareness to Jody's case.
The hope being somebody has some information they've been reluctant to share, or they may not even know they have information that might relate to Jody's case, and that the introduction through TV or the internet is enough to bring them forward to the police and give that last piece of information that they need.
Find Jody has produced over 30 podcasts, hosted events to appeal for information. They've even put up billboards asking residents of Mason City not to sit in silence and to come forward. They've also done their own digging on the people who've been questioned over her disappearance, including John Van Cise.
We know that the police are very interested in Van Cise, or at least have been recently. There was a search warrant that was executed on John Van Cise.
Authorities convened a grand jury in 1997, according to LaDonna Woodford, a friend of Van Cise, who says she testified for 5 hours. In addition to the 2017 search warrant, which remains sealed, authorities convened another grand jury in 2017, for which Van Cise was subpoenaed to testify. He was also asked to provide finger and palm prints to the grand jury. Grand jury proceedings are not public. We do not know the outcome, but it's safe to assume he was not indicted.
To explain the outcome of either of those grand juries?
No, that's not something those would be confidential court proceedings, and I wouldn't be at liberty to comment on those.
In April of 2019, Van Cise came forward and issued 2 statements via an intermediary saying he had absolutely no involvement in the apparent abduction of his friend Jody Huizenstruit. He denied having a romantic relationship with Jody and said that since her disappearance, he has fully cooperated with all local, state, and federal law enforcement officials. He says he has been the subject of 2 voluntary polygraph tests and DNA testing. He also disclosed he had recently been diagnosed with moderate and advancing Alzheimer's disease, a claim we cannot independently verify. Back in Mason City, Chief Brinkley insists they are continuing to work the case.
Yep.
We're still working on this. I think it's something that we want to be absolutely certain about at the point that we would make a move on something. And at that point, with the county attorney having some game plan for how to move ahead. And so I think we'll be very deliberate about how we handle that. We're being very deliberate about that now, particularly as we get different questions about who parties are or are not possible suspects. And we want to be very careful about that because we'll need to answer all of those questions as well in a court of law at some point, we hope.
Sounds like you're getting close.
I think that we have some working theories that we continue to work on.
Jody's family had her declared deceased in 2001. A tree they planted in her honor now stands quite tall in front of KAM TV, and the community desperately wants some closure.
I'm tired of this. We need to know what happened. I feel like I don't think she'll ever be found, but I think we're close to maybe having some answers. I hope.
Thank you for watching. Go to news.
Go figure that one out, right, ladies and gentlemen?
Now, I think one of the more recent articles or broadcasts I've listened to said that there is someone now who is a suspect that is not in a state that they're able to communicate.
Why is it that every time a major suspect, let me stand corrected, I shouldn't have said major, but a suspect that's on the radar, it always comes down with dementia or Alzheimer's? Because you cannot prosecute somebody in that mental state.
Right. Right.
So, and let me tell you something. I've read some articles and I've watched some news in between the shows before we went live that investigator has a lot of circumstantial evidence against that one guy that was just watched that he is not released. The police has, but he will not talk about because it's still an open case.
Oh, wow.
So what does that tell you?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, Eric, you're right. You're right. We covered a case not too long ago about that guy and that girl, remember? And he even said, he probably pushed her in the car and he was no good. And he called the guy slick or something. I can't remember the guy. Remember?
Yeah,
that?
he did. He did. Oh, if I was going to do it,
I was going to do it. Yeah. I told you, it sounded like a damn confession.
Yeah, I remember that. I think that was the last case we covered.
Yeah.
So we'll do some digging on that suspect and where he's at now. Maybe he is the one we're thinking that is not communicative.
But if he was dating her, if he was seeing her and he went out and played golf with her, that's going to talk about, that's why he's got a palm print on the vehicle. It doesn't mean he's a suspect. The only how you can tie her if he has DNA evidence or there was a witness that said that he saw him with her that morning.
Right.
But you got to figure that was an apartment complex. So hopefully somebody would have saw something or his vehicle or something.
Yeah. And you'd think, and I don't think in 95, a lot of them had video surveillance. Probably not.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I do want to point out too that the articles scattered around her car aren't odd for a morning news anchor, because it seems that she'd be getting dressed at work. The blow dryer is a little weird. to me, but she would be getting dressed in makeup and hair all at work. She wouldn't have done that
No, right.
before she left. So the bent key is, to me, is that's the main thing to me.
Well,
the
like
rest
I said, I mean, doesn't it sound like, from what they said the articles were, is that it sounded like, from the articles, from the outside to the inside, that she was taken back inside the apartment. It sounded like. I could be wrong.
I read there was signs of a struggle. Well, the stuff around her car could be that, but they had to have searched her apartment. The bent key, the key being bent. If it was someone she was dated and they were in a good spot, unless they had a menacing appearance to them, why would I'm curious about the bent key. That sounds like I'm afraid of whoever's coming near me.
Yeah.
And that's I don't know. Again, speculation. Hi Tammy. As to
Lorna, what Lorna, and I'll say this, Lorna, is that she was very secretive on who she was seeing and dating.
Mm-hmm. But a lot of people in the public eye are. That I don't. I think that they are for a lot of reasons. They don't get a whole lot of privacy. If that jealous, though, that struck Lorna. But I will say this: the jealous statement by that private investigator. Who? I mean, it's
which
weird.
one out of the four? You're right, Jennifer. Which one out of the four got jealous?
Right. So, I mean, okay, let's say. I mean, I get caught up in my work or whatever, and I've been caught up in when I was dating a long time ago, friends and things like that, where I didn't, you're single, you have friends, you meet someone, then you are all focused on that person. I mean, I don't think my friends would have been jealous, other than, hello, we're still here and we've been with you. You need to spend time with us, but not in a jealous way, out of like a don't drop us like a bad habit kind of way. So the jealous statement really is kind of sticking with me a minute. It's just weird the way he said it. Maybe I'm off, but
no, Amy says it's a very small town. Yeah, I can see that.
And it is close to the Minnesota border. Probably a few hours from the Twin Cities. I didn't look. If anyone is in the area, they could probably tell us with a little bit more accuracy than.
And guys do get jealous when they get cut off. And guys do take things the wrong way when they think women are friendly. They think they got something when nothing's there. I'm just saying, I don't know the situation. But we see this all the times when girls are talking to guys and they think there's something there when there's not. And next thing you know, she's talking to somebody else and they're like, wait a minute, I thought we had something. And there was nothing, just because they went out and played golf or had a few drinks or went out to have something to eat.
Yeah, you both took it different ways. And if you go back to the fact that she was taking those self-defense courses and you look at the profile of someone that would initiate her to do that, where they're stalking, following, that's also a behavior, I would think. Oh, come on, law enforcement, back me up here. That someone who's stalking, who sees that person they're obsessed with buddying a little too close to someone else, that can set them off too.
That's correct. I'll say this, and Jennifer knows, there was not too long ago that somebody in our family was being in this type of position, and they reached out to good old Grizzly, and good old Grizzly had made a phone call and explained to this person boundaries and what happens when boundaries are broken. And that guy never bothered our family member again. Sorry, I didn't mention your name, honey, but I did. But yes. And people have to understand. So, ladies, what I'm trying to say to you, if you got somebody bothering you, I'm not saying call Grizzly all the time. I know how to handle things. Swimming in the river. I'm just saying you need to tell your family and friends that somebody's bothering you just in case something does happen.
Yeah.
This person reached out to me, and I know how to handle things appropriately and professionally, not off Hollywood, but there are certain words I told this gentleman, and he ended up disappearing and not contacting this woman anymore. But anyways.
So here's another thing, and I will see if I can find this article, and it might be on findjody.com because that's where I got a lot of the sources from. There was a waitress. Did you read this? That was murdered in the area.
What?
And before she was murdered, she told her family member there was someone who was showing up at the diner. That was, I think she alluded to the fact, probably stalking, who talked about being the person who took and killed Jody.
Wow.
So I will find that for next week, that we can
Awesome.
maybe, if we can figure out. There was no name in the article of the person that this waitress had said, but this girl, just to let everyone know, and I'll find it, we can read it, was stabbed to death in her apartment.
Really interesting.
Yep.
Very interesting.
Yep. So,
right.
Oof, this will be interesting. I can't wait to see what the panel comes up with.
Yeah. So what we'll do, ladies and gentlemen, we will submit the photo. I'll submit it right after we end the show, and tune in for next week, and we'll see what we have. Anything else, Jennifer? I'm
good. I'm gonna save some stuff for next week.
And from coast to coast around the world, ladies and gentlemen, Godspeed. We'll see you tonight at 9 p.m. Take care. Bye-bye.